So this chapter is about installing Windows Server 2019. This week 2. This is week 2. Why we need to do that? Because this is one of the tasks for Windows administrator. He should be able to, or she should be able to install and configure the operating system or a new operating system for the network. You need to not only install, you need to prepare your system for the installation. Okay, install the OS, then verify your installation, and you do the initial server configuration. So it is always the starting point for a new operating system is the installation of the new operating system for your network. You know, with your hard disk, you can do partitioning. Okay? Partitioning meaning that this is a logical division. You are not really coming to your hard drive and dividing it physically. You are partitioning it. You are partitioning it logically. Okay? So that the operating system can manage data. All right? So it's easier for the operating system to manage and work with partitions. And with the partitioning, there are different technologies. We have two partitioning schemes or technologies. We have MBR, Master Boot Record. This is an old partition scheme, the legacy one. Okay. It was working on a 512-byte disk sector and with a maximum of 4 primary partitions only, or 3 partition and 1 extended partition. The extended partition with the master boot record can have up to 26 logical partitions, and it uses LBA. LBA is actually logical block addressing, and it can support hard drives up to 2 terabyte. And this scheme was very useful for multiple boot or multi-boot platforms. Sometimes you want to have more than one operating system on your computer. Have you done this? Any of these things? Some people, they will have different operating system on their laptop, especially the old days, because hardware was very expensive. So what they do, they will buy like one computer. One time you can boot as Windows. Then if you restart, you can boot as Linux. So this is called multi-boot. Okay. Then we have the second scheme is for partitioning is GUID partition or GPT. Okay. This coexists with the MBR, and this is a new partition scheme to overcome the limitation. Remember, the size we said can be only 2 tera, and the number of logical drives, and this one gives you more size, okay, and more logical partitions. You can have here 4,000 byte or 4K, yani 4096 4K, 4 kilobyte, and the size of the partition entry is 128 byte. GPT, by the way, is part of UEFI, Unified Extensible Firmware Interface. That replaces the BIOS. We talked about this last time. So this is the new technology. Because nowadays, you know, the hard drives are very big. 2 tera, there are many hard, now 2 tera is okay, no, it's the norm, not like before 2 tera, oh, maximum, no, now you can have more. Who has more than 2 tera byte? Yeah. MashaAllah. Yeah. but not on this one.
No,
Yeah. Yes. So you need better operating system. You cannot just use the BIOS. You have to use UEFI. You have to use the GPT for partitioning. Okay. Understanding boot options. We have different options to boot from. Okay. You can use installation media, the DVD, or you can use USB flash, or you can boot from the network. If your computer is connected to the network, you can boot the operating system from the network. But it will be slower. If you have your operating system installed on your computer, of course, it is better. Okay? But sometimes you need to boot to install. So I want to connect to the network, boot from the network, and then download the server and install. All right? You can understand these boot options, especially when you first start your laptop. Some of the laptops, if you click delete and F2, it will take you to the BIOS. Some laptops, it's not delete and F2. I think some of you maybe F10, or it depends on your laptop. Have you done this before? F2, is it delete and F2?
Yes,
or
delete.
F2, yeah. It will take you to the BIOS. Then you can control. I want to boot from the hard drive first, or I want to boot from the flash. You can control that. Okay. Now in Windows Server, once it is started, you don't have F8 option. What you need to do, you can use the advanced setup option to recover the server OS. All right. To access the advanced setup is just go to Start and then choose Settings, and then in Windows Settings select Update and Security, and then you can select Recovery from the navigation menu. You know, sometimes with your laptop, if you Windows got some problems, you are not booting properly, then you restart, you choose F8 and then restore to the last boot, the last working conditions. Have you noticed any of this?
I've done that.
Yeah. Said Musa, no? Okay. You have to trust me. If you press F8, it will take you to this menu. Or even before in the older Windows, it used to tell you, okay, you want to boot only to the safe mode or Windows command prompt. Yeah. Yeah. Here with the Windows Server, you can do this, but from the start menu. After you do that, after a short time, options such as continue, troubleshoot, and turn off your PC will be displayed. So then you click on troubleshoot to access the advanced options. And from the advanced options screen, select any of the available options, such as what you see here in the figure. System image recovery, command prompt, remember, like similar some of these. Startup settings. We have different type of Windows Server installation. We can do a fresh installation or clean install. Okay, so I have a brand new computer, or I have a formatted computer, and then I will do a clean install. We call this clean install or bare metal. Okay, or we can do installation over a network, as I just mentioned now, using WDS utility. We can do also unattended installation, meaning that I can start the installation and leave it. It will do everything.
Then the machines اللي بنشتغل عليها بأزور, it's already installed, or we have to install?
No, we have to install. Okay. Now we have also migration. Also, we will talk about each one of these. Upgrade meaning I have an older version of Windows. I want to upgrade it to Windows Server 2019. Now, as I mentioned before, we have 3 installation options. Each one will offer you different experience of the roles and features that are installed. So you have to plan ahead. You need to know which option you will choose. So we have the desktop experience. Desktop experience have everything. So everything will be there on your screen, on your server. The GUI interface, all the utilities. But you should have very good hardware to support this. Don't bring minimum hardware and then you install desktop experience. Okay. We have the server core. This is the command prompt. It is recommended by Microsoft. So if I ask you in the quiz, what is the recommended installation option? It is server core. Why? Because it needs minimum hardware or minimal hardware, resource consumption, and it provides higher security. However, it needs experienced user to use it, to configure it. This the roles and features can be installed locally through Windows PowerShell. So you have to know some commands, or remotely through Server Manager. We have a new option in Windows 2019. It was not there in 2012. It's called Nano Server. Nano Server is a replacement for Server Core, but it is minimal hardware also, resources needed here. It has fewer updates and only supports 64-bit applications. It is administered remotely only because it has no local login capabilities. Simply put, this installation option is best understood as it and forget it. And just put Nano Server and then you can access remotely. Okay. Clean installation, as I just mentioned. Now this is what we will do in the lab. We will do a clean installation. So it will overwrite any existing information system or operating system. So make sure you don't have any data there on your hard drive that you need it. Okay, back it up if you want to back it up. Okay. If you want to install over the network, you need to use the WDS utility. Okay. We are not doing a WDS in the lab, but it's not hard. It's easy. Okay. I will talk about it in theory later on. Okay. But when you are doing WDS, you still need to be there because it will ask you some questions. You have to answer the question. It's not that, oh, okay, I am installing from the network, I can just start it and leave it. No, you will be asked many questions. You have to interact with the installation. So you should be present. However, there is a way to minimize your interaction if you prepare an answer file. So, okay, I know that it will ask me, where are you located, some information. Then I can prepare answer file and feed it to the WDS. This will minimize the questions that I will be asked. Migration is when you bring a new machine, either physical or virtual, and you want to move the roles, features, application, and settings from your old computer into it. We call this migration. It's not upgrade, migration. So you want first to install the operating system, and then you do the migration. So you have to make sure that your operating system is running on the new server, then you do the migration. But also you need to make sure that Windows Server 2019 supports all your applications. Before you do that, you have to make sure that it is compatible with your applications. The migration requires WSMT feature to be installed on a new server. Okay, so you have to know that. Okay, this is the automated one or the unattended installation using Windows EDK and MDT. It's called unattended because it involves no interactivity or very minimum interactivity during the installation. And it is useful if you are deploying a large number of servers in your company. You will need answer file. The answer file is an XML file. You know XML, programming language? Yeah, it's XML file. The answer file is actually XML file. Okay. It has all the answers for when you get installation prompt, so it will pull the answer from there. So you can use Notepad to create your answer file, or you can download sample answer files from the internet, then customize them. Okay. Yes. Yeah. ADK and MDT provides a unique platform for automating desktop and server deployments, and they are available to download. You can download them. You can experiment with them on your virtual machine. Okay. Upgrade, it will replace your existing operating system with a new one. So you are not losing your files or settings. So we call it an in-place upgrade. You can run in-place upgrade to Windows Server 2019 if the actual server runs Windows Server 2016 or Windows Server 2012 R2 or Windows Server 2008 R2. But there are some conditions. Windows Server 2008 R2, it can be upgraded in 3 consecutive upgrade processing. First, look, please listen. You will upgrade it to Windows Server 12, then to Windows Server 16, then to Windows Server 19. You cannot jump. You have to go 3 steps. Okay. The same thing applies to Windows Server 2012. You have to do about how many steps? 2 with 2012. 2016, 19, 2 steps. Okay. R release, R is a release, release 2. They had 2 releases of Windows Server. First, they released the original one. Then there were so many comments and many patches. So they put it all together in one new release. Okay. Windows Server R2, 12 R2 and Windows Server 2016 can be upgraded to Windows Server 2019 in a single process. Okay, if you have 2012 R2 release 2, which is more advanced than the 2012 alone, and Windows Server 2016, then you can upgrade it directly to Windows Server 19. This is the only case. Post-installation task, your preparation. After you install, you need to do few important steps. We call them post-installation tasks. Even sometimes in the exam, we ask you, please mention some of the post-installation tasks that you need to do after you install your Windows Server the first time. First of all, you need to change the server name. How do you do that? You go to the properties section and then you click. You will find the highlighted computer name here. Can you see here? This is the computer name. If I want to join a domain, this is what we will do later on. What you do is you click here. You need to be member of a domain. You click here, but we are not doing this now. Okay. Here, before you join a domain and become a DC in the lab, this is what we will do in one of the labs, maybe lab number 3 or 4. Okay. If you add the DC, then your domain or your server will become a domain controller. Okay. Or it can be a domain member. But in either case, you have to join the domain. Okay. To join the domain, again, in the properties window, we click the change button, and then I will choose domain, and then I put my domain name here. Okay, the domain name, default, or duati local.local, okay, DC1 or member server.local, like that. And then I will click OK. Don't do this now, we're just doing the theory now. Also, we can enable remote desktop or configure remote desktop. We can allow remote connection to this computer option. Okay. So we change the server name. So what are the post-installation tasks? Change server name, join a domain, enable remote desktop or configure remote desktop, set up IP address, number 4. We'll show you how to do set up the IP address, the subnet mask, default gateway. Number 5, configure updates or check for updates. You can configure it to do auto check for updates. Okay, and this is very important because if actually in real life you have a server, you want to make sure that you are getting the updates on time. And sometimes they know that there is someone discovered some weakness or vulnerability in the server, and then they send you some updates to the Windows server, so you need to enable it. Okay. You can also configure the IE enhanced security settings, and we will show you this, how to do this in the lab. But you can do it from the Internet Explorer enhanced security configuration window. Okay, and then you can click on it. Okay, and if you look here, it is either on or off. For administrators, it is recommended to be on, And for users also, it is recommended to be on. Also, another task to configure the time zone and your region. You have to do that. These are all post-installation tasks. So that's easy. You choose your time zone. We'll show you how to do that. Then you need to activate your Windows Server. You have purchased, assuming that you have purchased it, then you need to put the product key. Okay, in the real life scenarios. Any questions? That's the last slide.